You think you know someone? Watch what they do when they're given power. Watch what they do when they have nothing to gain. That's it. 2 moments, 2 tests, and they will tell you everything. Not words, not smiles. Not the curated version they want the world to see. Is revealed not in comfort but in contrast. You think power changes people, but the truth is, power doesn't change who we are. It shows the world what's always been there. Strip away the polite tone, the social norms, the need to impress, and what you're left with is raw, unfiltered character. Power acts like a flashlight in a dark room. It illuminates what was always there in the corners. If someone is kind-hearted, power makes their kindness louder. If someone is self-serving, power magnifies their ego. That's why it's not power that corrupts, it's power that uncovers. Most of us have experienced this. The friend who suddenly got promoted and forgot how to speak to people without talking down. The colleague who started pulling rank the moment they got a little leverage. The boss who treats upper management with charm and their team with disdain. It's not the role that changed them. It's the mask could finally come off. They didn't have to pretend anymore. Because with power comes the illusion of safety. No one can challenge me now. That's when character steps forward, unguarded and unedited. The most telling moments aren't the speeches people give or the charities they donate to. Oh, that's the little choices, the way someone speaks to a janitor versus a CEO, the tone they use, when they think someone up beneath them has no influence, the decisions they make when the rules don't apply to them. Watch closely. In those moments, you're not seeing a slip up. You're seeing someone's default setting. Power simply gave them permission to stop hiding it. And it's not just in big positions or corner offices. Power shows up in relationships too. A parent has power over a child. A partner might hold emotional power in a relationship. A friend might hold social power in a group. In each of these cases, how they wield that power tells you everything. Do they use it to uplift or control? Do they listen or do they dominate? Do they make room for others or make it all about them? Every single choice is data. And character is made of those choices stacked, repeated over time. But here's the twist most people never see coming. You don't have to be watching for long to know the truth. One moment, often enough. One interaction where power is present and consequences are absent can reveal more than years of small talk and surface-level connection. Someone who is respectful only when it benefits them is not respectful. They're strategic. Someone who is generous only when eyes are on them is not generous. They're performing. Power strips away the performance. It demands nothing, and in doing so, reveals everything. And this matters deeply because power is everywhere. You'll encounter it in your career, in your friendships, in your family. And if you don't know how to read it, you'll mistake charm for integrity, charisma for care. But once you learn to watch for it, you'll see clearly. The way someone holds power tells you exactly who they are. And just as importantly, it tells you exactly who you are when the moment comes that you're the one holding it. Because your choices in those exact moments won't just define you, they'll ripple. They'll touch every room you walk into, every person you lead, every heart you influence. Power isn't the goal, character is. And when the two meet, that's when real impact begins. Integrity isn't proven in public, it's revealed in private. We live in a world where people are constantly performing, curating their lives for social media, polishing their words in meetings, showcasing their best selves when it counts. But real character, the kind that actually defines a person, isn't built in those moments. It's built in the quiet, invisible spaces where no one is watching, when there's no applause waiting, no recognition coming, and no consequence for taking the easy way out. That's when you find out who someone really is. Think about it. How do you act when there's nothing in it for you? Do you show up with the same level of care, of honesty, of effort? Or do you reserve your best for moments when it benefits you? That difference is everything, because integrity is doing the right thing, even when it costs you. It's owning your mistake. When lying would be easier, it's speaking the truth when silence would protect you. It's showing up for someone who can never return the favor. These moments might feel small, but they are massive in what they reveal, and they stack. Quietly, consistently, forming the backbone of who you are. The people who carry true integrity don't need to announce it. You feel it in the way they move, in the way they handle disappointment without blaming others, in the way they tell the truth even when it's messy, in the way they hold their values like a compass, not a costume. There's no show. No need to convince you, because they know who they are when no one's looking, and they like that version of themselves. That's the kind of inner strength that doesn't need validation. It speaks through action, not, And here's the irony, and the moments of integrity that no one sees often matter more than the ones that everyone notices. Because when no one's watching, there's no incentive to fake it. So when someone chooses truth, or kindness, or accountability anyway, that choice is real. It's not driven by image. It's driven by something deeper, alignment, a decision to live from the inside out instead of the outside in. That kind of integrity creates trust, not the shallow kind, built on charisma, but the deep, grounded kind that makes people feel safe, seen, and respected. You don't need a spotlight to prove your worth. In fact, the more someone relies on being seen to feel valuable, the more fragile their integrity often is. Because real integrity doesn't need an audience. It thrives in silence. It grows in the moments when no one is clapping. It's what holds you steady when no one's cheering you on. And the truth is, most of your life will be lived in those in-between spaces, without recognition, without applause. That's why it matters so much who you in them. And yes, those moments are hard. Choosing the honest path when it costs you something will never be easy. Doing the right thing when it doesn't pay off right away will always feel like a risk. But if you care about who you're becoming, if you care about building something that lasts, this is the only path. Because a life built on image will crumble the moment the lights go out. But a life built on integrity, that's solid, that's unshakable. And that's the kind of life that can weather anything. Real character will cost you something. That's the part people don't talk about. It's easy to talk about values when they're just words. It's easy to say you're honest when telling the truth isn't risky. It's easy to say you're loyal when your loyalty isn't tested. But the moment your values require sacrifice, time, comfort, reputation, opportunity, that's when your character is no longer theoretical. It becomes visible. That's when you find out who you are, not who you wish you were, who you actually are when everything's on the line. There's a version of character that's clean, polished, inspirational, but that's not the real thing. Real character's gritty. It's inconvenient. It makes you uncomfortable. It forces you to have hard conversations. It asks you to take responsibility when blaming someone else would be easier. It calls you to show up with empathy when anger would feel more powerful. That version of character doesn't feel good in the moment. It's what earns respect, not the temporary kind that's based on charm, but the deep kind that only grows when people see you choose what's right over what's easy. People think strength is loud, but real strength is quiet. It's the kind that shows up when you apologize without making excuses. When you walk away from something tempting because it violates your integrity. When you defend someone who has no power simply because it's the right thing to do. And here's the truth most people avoid. Having character will make you stand alone sometimes. It will cost you relationships, opportunities, maybe even success by the world's standards. But it will never cost you yourself. And at the end of the day, that's the only thing you can't afford to lose. The world rewards appearance. It celebrates success, charm, confidence. But those things can be faked. You can't fake depth. You can't fake courage when no one's watching. You can't fake standing in integrity when there's no applause waiting on the other side. And this is where most people get stuck. They want to be seen as someone with character without paying the price of actually living it. But you don't get both. You don't get to stand for something and remain comfortable. Growth doesn't happen there, and neither does authenticity. It's easy to compromise when no one will find out. It's tempting to cut corners when no one's holding you accountable. But every time you choose the shortcut, you lose a piece of yourself. It's subtle, and you won't notice it right away. But slowly, you'll start to feel disconnected. Like something's missing. That is your alignment. Your inner peace, because your brain might rationalize a lie, but your soul doesn't forget. Character isn't just about morality, it's about wholeness, living in a way that doesn't leave you at war with yourself. There's no shortcut to character. There's no hack. It's built moment by moment in the hard, hidden places of your life. And yes, it will cost you. It will ask for your pride, your ego, sometimes your comfort. But what it gives back is unshakable. Confidence rooted in truth. Relationships built on trust. Because what you've built didn't come easy. It came real. Power shows up in more places than we realize. We tend to think of it as something only a few people have CEOs, politicians, celebrities. But the truth is, every day, in ordinary moments, we all hold some kind of power. In our families, our friendships, our workplaces, even in the way we navigate the world. Power isn't just about status, it's about influence. It's about the ability to affect another person's experience, their choices, their self-worth. And whether we realize it or not, we're using that power all the time. The question is, how? Look at the parent-child relationship. A parent has immense power, not just because they make the rules, but because they shape a child's understanding of love, safety, identity. The words a parent chooses, the tone they use, the way they respond to mistakes or vulnerability, those moments leave a lasting mark. When that power is used with empathy and intention, it builds trust. But when it's used to dominate or control, even without malice, it can create damage that echoes into adulthood. And this same dynamic plays out in every other relationship where there's a power imbalance, whether it's acknowledged or not. Think about your own life. Think about a time someone had power over you, a teacher, a boss, a coach, a partner. Do you remember how they made you feel? That's what sticks with us, not their title, not their credentials, but the way they used their influence. Did they see you, respect you, empower you? Or did they use their position to make themselves feel bigger while making you feel small? That's what power does. It either connects or divides, and how someone uses it speaks louder than anything they claim to believe. Even in friendships, power can creep in quietly. The friend who always decides what the group does, the one whose approval everyone silently seeks, the person who withholds support or affection when they're upset, forcing others to earn it back. Are subtle forms of power, but they matter. They shape the dynamics. They influence behavior. And when unchecked, they can become patterns that create distance, resentment, and fear. The healthiest relationships are the ones where power is held with care, where influence is used to build each other up, not to control the outcome. We're also tested in how we use power when we feel emotionally superior. When we're the healed one, the wiser one, the one who's done the work. That kind of power is seductive. It feels good to be the one who knows better. But real maturity, real character, means not using that insight to shame, control, or condescend. It means remembering that your growth isn't a weapon, it's a responsibility. And the more power you hold, the more intentional you must be with it. Because power doesn't just affect outcomes, it affects people's sense of worth, identity, and safety. Every time you walk into a room, you carry a kind of power in your words, in your energy, in your presence. And how you use that power becomes your legacy. You're long before your achievements. You're long before your achievements. It's not about pretending you don't have power. It's about being aware that you do and choosing to wield it with courage, humility, and compassion. The people who use their power to elevate others don't just change the moment. They change the environment. They shift the culture. They set a new standard, because when power is grounded in character, everyone rises. One of the most misunderstood truths about character is how quickly it can be revealed. People often think it takes years to truly know someone. But the reality is, you don't need a decade of conversations or a deep history to see someone's core. You just need to pay attention when power shows up or when it doesn't. One moment can tell you more than 100 stories. One decision made when the stakes are low and the attention is absent speaks volumes. People show you who they are in the quietest ways, and if you're watching closely, you won't miss it. Watch someone in a position of advantage. Maybe they got a promotion. Maybe they're winning in life. Maybe they suddenly have social clout, attention, money, opportunity. That's when the truth starts to leak out, because in that space, they don't need to be careful anymore. They don't need to impress you. Their guard drops. The need to perform fades. And the way they treat others, their tone, their presence becomes raw and real. Do they uplift the people around them? Or do they use their success as a shield to avoid accountability and empathy? Then observe them in the opposite scenario, when they have absolutely nothing to gain. When helping someone won't boost their image, when doing the right thing offers no reward, that's when character is most honest. Are they still generous when generosity goes unseen? Are they still kind when kindness isn't celebrated? Do they show up for others, even when it's inconvenient, unnoticed, or even thankless? The person who acts with integrity in that moment is someone whose values run deep. Their actions are not transactional. Something incredibly telling about how a person treats someone who has no power over them. No social value, no network to offer, no opportunity to trade. In those moments, the mask drops. You see the real thing. A person who's consistent, regardless of who's watching, is someone who can be trusted. Because they're not just kind to be seen as kind. They are kind. They're not honest for the applause. They're honest because it's who they are. And those people, they're rare. But once you've seen what that kind of alignment looks like, you stop being impressed by performance. We spend so much of our lives learning how to read people's words when we should be watching their actions. Watch how someone behaves when they could take advantage and get away with it. Accountability. Watch how they show up for someone who's struggling not because it looks good, but because it's simply the right thing to do. These are the moments when character isn't just talked about. It's revealed clearly, boldly, without apology. The beautiful and brutal truth is that you don't need to overanalyze or wait for time to tell you everything. Time helps, yes. But character often speaks in the first moment of real tension. The first opportunity to manipulate. The first choice between what's right and what's easy. When people think no one is watching and when they don't expect the consequences, that's when the truth comes out. Not the polished version. Not the real truth. And if you're willing to look closely, listen deeply, and trust what you see, you'll never be confused about who someone really is. We live in a culture obsessed with appearances. We praise charisma, celebrate confidence, and reward the ones who speak the loudest and shine the brightest. But there's a quiet kind of strength that doesn't scream for attention. Character. The kind that doesn't need to be broadcasted or branded. The kind that doesn't shift depending on the audience. And here's the truth most people miss. Character isn't something that's felt. You don't have to tell people you're trustworthy, respectful, or grounded. When it's real, they already know. They feel it in how you move through the world. Character lives in consistency, in how you treat people when you're tired, in how you respond when you're under pressure, in the way you handle disappointment, not just when things fall apart, but when they fall apart in front of everyone. Do you become bitter, blameful, cold? Do you stay anchored in who you said you were when things were good? Anyone can act aligned when life is going their way, but it's in failure, in frustration, in discomfort, where character either crumbles or solidifies. That's where it becomes unshakable or exposed. And the irony is, the people with the deepest character are rarely the ones trying to prove anything. They don't need to convince you of their integrity because they're too busy living it. Their confidence doesn't come from applause. It comes from alignment. From knowing their words match their actions. Their public image reflects their private life. There's no gap. No double life. No contradiction. That kind of authenticity isn't flashy, but it's magnetic. It draws people in not because it's loud, but because it's real. And in a world full of performance, real stands out. You can't fake it. Not for long. You can rehearse kindness, you can script humility, you can even mimic empathy. But if it's not rooted in something honest, it will show. Over time, people always feel the difference between practiced charm and genuine care, between curated vulnerability and raw truth. And it doesn't take a scandal to expose it. Sometimes it's just a small moment of pressure, of disappointment, of discomfort. That's when the mask slips. That's when you see whether the character is costume or core. And here's the hard part. There's no way to build real character without facing things that challenge it. You don't develop depth in the shallow end of life. You gain it when you're tested. When you have to choose between what's easy and what's right. When you walk away from something that could have made you look good, but cost you your soul. When you tell the truth, knowing it might lose you the room. These are the moments that form you. They might not be pretty. They might not get celebrated. But they're where integrity is forged. People often chase the version of themselves they think the world will love. But the version of you that will last, the one that can hold relationships, lead with heart, stand in storms, is the one built on character. And that doesn't come from pretending. It comes from choosing over and over. When no one is watching, when it costs you something, when it hurts. That's how you become someone who doesn't need to be the loudest voice in the room. Because your presence already says everything. Not with noise, but with truth, with alignment, with real grounded, undeniable character. So here's the truth. The kind that doesn't just land in your mind, but stays in your gut. Character is not what you say. It's not what you post. It's not who you are when everything is easy and everyone's watching. Character is who you are when no one's clapping. It's how you treat the person who can do nothing for you. It's the choices you make in the dark. It's the power you hold and how gently or harshly you use it. And the beautiful, brutal reality is this: the world may never fully see those moments, but you, and so will the people who matter. To demand attention, it earns respect.